Nowadays, if you look at community on blockchain, right, it's very small, the same people in the same conference. If you look at, different DApps out there, there are only a few in one hand that you can name are very innovative. I think the rest are like quite similar. Maybe there's some changes here and there, but I think what we're doing here is that if we're making it such that it's a low barrier to create a good and working product on blockchain, then that means that you have to really push your standards for like how you differentiate. That's, DeFi protocols become like the fundamental building blocks, hence Infinit. And people can build in DeFi in like a minute without having to know Solidity, without having to know all the coding. People can interact with all these DApps very easily. That would move so much more needle, in my opinion. And I think that becomes more of the world that I want to see, where people interact and people build more on blockchain. Because I think a lot of the applications and a lot of like opportunities are actually on chain. As there are more applications built, as there are more users available, and users know how to use these DApps, then there are more opportunities being created to everyone.
GM everyone in this room, and especially GM to everyone behind the screen. I'm Alina. I'll be your host for today. Very special guest, Tascha, whom I've been introduced to as the smartest woman in Thailand by a very excited friend of mine from Pendle. Welcome, Tascha.
Thank you. Great to be here, but I think that's very great introduction you gave. Maybe too good of intro.
Well, most valuable people tend to be very humble.
Oh.
So you definitely fit the criteria there. So what was your story? What were you doing before you joined the Web3 space?
Yeah, so I studied economics at UC Berkeley. So I was very interested in, finance, game theory, economics. And in the Bay Area, so automatically, tech is, has a huge influence. So after graduation, then I went into tech investment banking in SF in the US, San Francisco, and then got deported due to some visa issues for international students. So not, American citizen. But then worked in London for tech investment banking as well. And then due to visa issue as well, then, decided to move back to Thailand where I'm from. So, I think that's a pre-crypto journey.
Who are the people who shaped your journey from going from Web 2 to Web 3, if any? Because a lot of people have a friend who told them about blockchain technology. How did you find out about it?
Yeah, I think I got super lucky because Berkeley has always been like very entrepreneurial and also like very, forefront of the new innovation. So I think a lot of the people that I know in Berkeley are actually in crypto, in blockchain. So we were like together back in the days, trading, reading, talking, trying different things. Not that many things to try back in the days, but I think when there were more apps being built, then that's when like we started like having different ideas, having different, brainstorming sessions. And that's also how, my co-founder and I also got along as well. It's like a friend who just interested in these common things and decided to work together on a few side projects that became, a full-time project.
It sounds like you joined Web3 and started your first project more out of curiosity, how you combine different elements together. Is that the case? Were there other factors to it? Was it just curiosity that drew you in to build something?
Yeah. I think very much like back in 2020, I saw DeFi or, things on blockchain as very greenfield where anything is possible and it depends on like how we want to craft our product. Not very different from now where a lot of the space is actually quite saturated. Different segment of DeFi may not make sense to be built anymore. And hence that's why like DeFi infra makes more sense. And, hence, Infinit makes more sense now. But I think back in the days, it's very much like, hey, like, what if we apply this concept from traditional finance that we see that's already working, but, because of this flaw that it has in the centralized system, and we complement it with this way of working from, for example, like pool to pool mechanics, or even like different mechanics of like incentive structure and what would it look like. So I think it becomes more like different experiments that we wanted to do. So that's how new projects and new product came about.
And what is your purpose now? What is your why? What drives you? What motivates you now?
Nowadays, if you look at community on blockchain, right? It's very small, the same people in the same conference, fewer people over the years and some new faces, but I think it's still like very small size, right? So I think in order for us to like onboard a whole large developers or even a whole new crowd of users, we need something different, right? something that is simple to use, something that abstracts a lot of the complexities away. And I think what drives me is like, how can I drive this space forward in a way that we see like 80-20, right? In such a way that we see like 80% of the improvement from the thing that we do. So I think, we can build other products, but I'm not sure how much of that would move the needle for the space. Or we can build a DeFi infra that abstracts a lot of complexities away, hence Infinit, and people can build in DeFi in like a minute without having to know Solidity, without having to know all the coding. People can interact with all these dApps very easily. That would move so much more needle, in my opinion. And I think that becomes more of the world that I want to see, where people interact and people build more on blockchain and create more value, because I think a lot of the applications and a lot of like opportunities are actually on chain. As there are more applications built, as there are more users available, and users know how to use these apps, then there are more opportunities being created to everyone.
They say how you do one thing is how you do everything. When I asked you about how you structure your day, you said, I think about 80-20, is this meeting important? Does this move the needle forward? And now you use the same words to talk about Infinit. You chose Infinit because this is what you believe will actually drive the space forward. I really like that. And I think if you would be happy to, we can dive deeper into Infinit itself. And the doors are open for everyone. So what is Infinit?
Infinit is a DeFi abstraction layer. What that means is we abstract a lot of the complexities to build a new DeFi applications, to add new functionalities to existing applications, to scale existing applications to different chains. But later on down the line, we're also adding a lot more services around how do you manage DeFi applications in a very easy and simple way. Because a lot of the time, it does not just end when you launch things. Once you launch things, you have to manage it. You want to adjust different things. You want to maintain it. You need to know how to do all these data indexing. You have more point system. Like all these things become, managed service that we also provide that abstracts a lot of the complexities that you don't have to do.
Why does the DeFi space need Infinit?
We need Infinit because of two reasons. One is that with each chain, there would be a whole user groups that are different. And I think with all these numerous chains that we have, all the chains need DeFi ecosystems. That's, DeFi protocols become like the fundamental building blocks for a lot of different things. Even though you're like consumer applications chains, there will be, say, like lending protocol for those consumer assets that power things behind the scene. So I think that would mean that there has to be a simple way to onboard more developers to create a lot of these DeFi protocols that are needed on all these chains. The second reason is that for existing protocols itself, even if you're already live on Arbitrum or different existing chains out there, instead of you having to recreate the wheel of adding new features or scaling to different chain, all those processes can be crammed in like a day through our product. So efficiency is a lot higher and costs become a lot lower. So automatically, that means that you would be able to scale, add functionalities a lot easier, even if you're already live protocol on existing chains.
Who is Infinit for?
With our product, you don't even have to be a developer to build a DeFi protocol. You just have to have a builder spirit and a good team. So you need a few, let's say front end here and there. But I think a builder would be our target customers. Existing dApps that are already building or new builders who are looking to build new dApps. Chains are also our partners because a lot of the chains are looking to grow their DeFi ecosystems, and automatically, those chains that are integrated with us would be able to grow ecosystems a lot faster because anyone would be able to build a lot easier on their chains. Many infrastructure projects are also our partners because automatically we are also providing the key piece to getting the DeFi protocols getting built a lot easily and scalably and safely. So plugging in with different, for example, roll up as a service, monitoring system, like those can be complementary service with our infra.
What about safety? Is it more secure to go through Infinit than to risk the human error? Does it have such benefits?
Yeah, so there are benefits because every smart contracts on Infinit are audited. And these are beta tested smart contracts. We don't taper with the existing smart contracts. What we do is we wrap JavaScript around it, and we make sure that each functionality is easily callable and adjustable in a common language using JavaScript. So you can build a money market, you can customize interest rate model, you can add different lending pool, You can create like adjusting different liquidation system or liquidation premium number, all of these without having to make change to the code directly. So automatically, I think the core ingredient is not papered with any changes. So fully audited, battle tested, a lot easier and a lot better to use as opposed to you having to like recreate the contract yourself or making changes directly to the contract yourself, because that also introduces human error. Potentially, like you may not fully understand the contract and you may make changes that may not be as applicable.
Now that Infinit is making it very easy for pretty much anyone with basic TypeScript knowledge to spin up a DApp, are there any concerns that Infinit is making it very difficult to cut through the noise if everybody is able to just do this in minutes, days? Or will this inspire people to really have to stand out because everyone can do it nowadays? What's your thoughts?
If you look at, different DApps out there, there are only a few in one hand that you can name are very innovative. I think the rest are like quite similar. Maybe there's some changes here and there, some tech differences here and there. But I think what we're doing here is that if we're making it such that it's a low barrier to create a good and working product on blockchain, then that means that you have to really push your standards for like how do you differentiate. That means that do you target more on particular community? Do you also target more on like your product strategy, go-to-market launch? For sure, if you want to target on the tech differentiation, you can customize things on top of after being built from Infinit. So there's no limitation on differentiating on the tech for sure. But I think it's more of like we provide this base layer that automatically everyone's already on par with this level, right? People don't have to spend months producing something that would already be equivalent to something that Infinit can produce in a day. So the rest of the months that people spare can actually be focused on thinking, okay, what do we do to drive more innovation? What kind of new thing we can build on top? If that new thing they want to build on top is tech innovation, that's great. They can continue to build things on top of the apps built from Infinit. If that new innovation is on marketing, on community, on go-to-market, then they have more time to think of those things and create those mechanics.
Who will benefit from the success of Infinit as a platform?
I think everyone in the industry, because I think everyone just keeps saying that we need new people, like new users, more users, new builders, some more innovations, new ideas, new applications on all these available chains out there that are lacking applications. So I think it's everyone who are in this industry right now would benefit from Infinit. Users would also have more applications to use on all the chains that they're already on without having to jump to too many chains unnecessarily.
Can you share a bit about the protocols that Infinit has already helped?
Yeah, so there are a number of different protocols that Infinit has already worked with, ranging from money market, for example, Init Capital, to like LST, LRT, for example, like Renzo, Kelp, or even like stable coins like Ethena, or even different DEXs like Thruster, Merchant Mo. So these are like different categories of different protocols. Not limiting to these, so there can be a whole lot more of segments of applications that can work with Infinit. So when Ethena expands to Mantle and Blast, or any chains as well, their goal is not to just have USDE available on that chain, right? Their goal is to make sure that there are different functionalities or different mechanics in place to drive trading volume, to drive liquidity for provisioning of USDE on that chain. So automatically, in this case, what that means for Infinit to help with Ethena is that all these functionalities that Ethena need, whether it's, different yield strategies, linking between the DEX, the money market, and do the looping strategy, do the margin trading strategy, all these things are something that Ethena did not have to build themselves. Ethena USDE contract plugs in with Infinit infrastructure. The requirements are being given through the JavaScript in Infinit, and then in 1 minute to 2 minutes, Infinit spits out the smart contracts that perform all these functionalities that would help drive the mechanic to create trading volume, create liquidity provisioning for USDE. So automatically, if you look into looping strategies on Init Capital of USDE, there are different margin trading strategies as well on Blast. All of these are being created from the Infinit architecture. Ethena didn't have to spend resources, money as well, because everything's audited in Infinit. So they have everything out of the box, ready to go by working with Infinit. How Infinit helps Init scales from $0 TVL to $270 million of TVL is that Infinit infrastructure is very modular, very plug and play. So any of the apps that are built from Infinit is able to add new features very quickly because of this Infinite infrastructure. Infinite Capital is able to add new features, support new tokens, capture new demands and trends super easily. I think that coincides with the user demand in a timely manner. So as a result, leads to the high growth of adoption and traction.
What is your end goal for Infinite?
Two aspects. One aspect is that majority of the new apps are being created from Infinit, whether it's money market, DEX, perps on a lot of the chains, right? The second goal is where existing apps, they add their smart contracts to Infinite stack so that they can manage their applications a lot easier. Because like what I mentioned, launching a protocol is the first step, but managing is this, the rest of the lifetime of a protocol is a whole new step, right? And managing a protocol actually takes a lot of time from builders as well. And there are a lot of things that you can streamline, a lot of the commonalities that you can create as a service and create as an infrastructure that serves these existing protocols. With the second goal in mind, I think it pretty much means that all the existing DeFi protocols plug into Infinite so that they can manage the DeFi protocols a lot easier and saves a lot more time.
Can you walk us a bit through the visualized roadmap from now until that vision is realized?
What it would take us from now to the end vision would be three things. First thing is strategically, automatically, I think it's making sure that the infrastructure is available on as many chains because there are a lot of builders community for each chain that want to build on that particular chain, right? That's actually not the hard part. Very scalable infra that we have that we can integrate new chains easily. The second part is more on making sure that all the new developers are aware of us. So working with different communities that are working between Web 2 to Web 3 conversions, incubator of that particular chain, incubator of that particular local community, that country, so that we become the top of the funnel of all the builders who are entering Web 3. And then the third is where we in our team create commonalities and infrastructure for the managed service that I mentioned. Because a lot of the tech that we have is on abstracting away complexities to build and launch protocols and features. The other half is managing a protocol after it's launched. And that's also what we've been working on, which is how do we make sure that people can maintain and manage a DeFi protocol in just a minute as well, instead of having to spend months creating all these infrastructure to do point system, which is something that's required to maintain a protocol.
When do you anticipate this vision to be realized that most new protocols would be using Infinite infrastructure?
Wow. When do we anticipate? We're working as hard as we are to push that timeline as soon as possible. But I think, we have to enjoy the process and grind throughout the time. So realistically, I think a year or two. Yeah. But of course, we need to make sure it happens as early as possible.
Bullish.
Yeah.
You just raised 6 million. Congratulations. How do you intend to distribute the funds?
Very much a combination of tech development, crafting a growing ecosystems, because we're not only working with existing developers and existing builders, we want to make sure the top of the funnel, everyone building and first time building in Web3 know about us. So that requires a lot of BD marketing efforts. So that's also where we'll be spending some of the funds as well. And I think for sure, making sure we grow the team cautiously, but in a way that scales with how we want to grow the product.
I know we're in it just for the tech, but will there be a token?
Yeah. So there will be a token. I think it's very much on key part as well into how we envision the token to supercharge the product adoption. I think developers and builders would be able to use our product a lot better with the token. And also the end users would be able to use the applications built from Infinit a lot easier with the token as well. So I think that's all we can share on how we're looking into having token utility and grind into the whole ecosystem.
How can developers get involved with Infinit right now?
So we actually have early access to our product. Check out our Twitter, which would lead to where you can get the access to the early access of our product launch. So you can play around with it, give us feedback, and automatically as we do the full product launch, you would be able to build the apps from JavaScript. Later next year, we're also launching front end where you don't even need to know JavaScript. You can build a whole DeFi protocols, customize DeFi protocols from plug and play front end, drag and drop modules.
How can non-developers get involved with Infinit?
Non-developers, non-builders are also very much important. So there would be different campaigns that would unite everyone. And then next year is when we also are going to launch the front end where non-developers would be able to use the front end to build DeFi protocols. So let's say if you are expert in marketing, if you are expert in distribution channel, you might have a whole community of traders with you and you want to create a DEX or like a perp DEX for your community to trade. Now you don't have to have a whole developer team with you. You can use Infinit, create that perp DEX that you need for your trading community. So really much it will become a whole new experience that you would not have before.
What would you say to Web2 developers who are kind of on the fence whether they should join Web3 or not?
If you're on the fence, then you should try Infinit because then at least you get one step ahead. And that one step is only 1 minute, right? Like it takes 1 minute to get that one step. So once you're deployed things on chain, then you get to experiment and figure out like whether this is the right fit for you. And you can experiment different things because now you don't have to spend months experimenting, but it's like a matter of days experimenting.